Coming up on Mountain News this morning, online scammers have come up with a new way to prey on victims in search of over-the-counter drugs. And we take a look at the memories Governor Jones leaves behind.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, I'm Chas Gayhart. It is 6:30 on Tuesday, September 26th. We're going to go over and check in again with Brandon Robinson.
Well, the forecast this morning, Chas, is kind of, I hate to use this term over and over again, but that's literally the way it is. It's rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
so without the rinse, and we're probably going to get some of that a little bit later on this week. But again, another cool morning, another foggy morning, a little bit of everything out there. So let's take a look. We'll go back up to Jenkins now and kind of take a look over there at going up into Southwest Virginia, US 119, US 23 there on Jenkins Mountain. Not much in the way of traffic this morning, and a little bit of patchy fog over that way, but the fog is thick and dense in some of those valleys. So just be careful out there. Give yourself plenty of time to get back and forth. 60s, Ashland, Logan, and Monticello. Low 50s in Jonesville, Hazard, Clintwood, Wise, and Irvin. Everybody else mid to upper 50s. That's kind of where we're going to be at for a little while today. 81 this afternoon. No real chances for rain today. Maybe a stray chance a little bit later on tonight. Not sold on that. But tomorrow, though, that's a different story. More on that coming up in just a few minutes. Chas?
Thanks, Brandon. We have a traffic alert to pass along for those who travel on US 460 in Magoffin County. Starting on October 9th, road work will begin in association with the Ivy Point Hill roadway. The road will be closed between mile points 10 and 10.6, or between Kentucky 30 and Lee Prater Street, Waterworks Street. This will affect the traffic between Salyersville and West Liberty. Road work is expected to be completed by October 22nd. Pulaski County Sheriff's Office is asking for help to identify two people involved in a theft case. Officials say the theft happened at a home off Highway 3264 in the northwestern part of the county. The victim's surveillance camera shows a white vehicle, possibly a Chevrolet Tahoe, with a driver and a passenger. The passenger loaded the box into the back seat of the SUV before driving away. If you recognize either of the men or have any information, you're asked to call the Sheriff's Office at 606-678-5145. Some former tenants of Brian Carter have expressed concern about his not guilty plea yesterday. Carter pleaded not guilty in Perry County to the multiple charges after an apartment he owned caught on fire in June. Tenants of two buildings, both of which were owned by Carter, were evacuated and lost most of their belongings. Former tenant Gordon Fugit says he is struggling financially after the fire.
Monday it's easy, but the rest of the week it's kind of hard for me. And I don't think it's right. I'm going to do that.
Brian Carter's lawyer, John Hanson, told us he does not believe the charges have probable cause. Carter's pretrial date is set for October 31st. One person is dead following a crash in Lee County, Virginia. Virginia State Police say it happened last Thursday on Route 636, about a mile south route of 635. Police say a Pontiac G6 was heading south when it went off the left side of the road. The car ended up coming back onto the road before going off again and hitting a tree. 45-year-old Crystal G. Webb of South Charles, Virginia died at the scene. Police say she was not wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash. Moorhead police are searching a remote wooded area in Rowan County where skeletal remains were found. Yesterday was the second day of a search that began Sunday. The Rowan County Coroner's Office says someone found the remains around 4 Sunday afternoon. Crews stopped searching after it got dark that night. The coroner says the search started back up at daylight yesterday. The remains are being sent to the State Medical Examiner's Office in Frankfort. A Campbell County, Tennessee woman is facing theft and forgery charges after police say she defrauded TennCare. The TBI says Vicki Lynn Johnson obtained medical assistance payments for services not provided by TennCare. Officials say she also submitted timesheets for a caregiver who agents learned was dead. Johnson turned herself into the Campbell County Jail yesterday. The Pulaski County Sheriff's Office is warning about an increase in vehicle thefts. Sheriff Bobby Jones says in the last 30 days, deputies have investigated 10 stolen vehicle reports and at least 5 reports of thefts from vehicles. The Sheriff's Office says more of the cases involve cars that were left unlocked or the keys were still inside. Deputies are reminding drivers to never leave valuables in your car and keep the cars locked. Popular weight loss and diabetes medications continue to fly off pharmacy shelves. Ozempic and Wegovy are considered blockbuster drugs because of their sales, but simply the supply has failed to keep us with skyrocketing demands. The FDA says the prescription injections are currently in shortage. As a result, some online sellers and scammers are preying on those desperate for the drug. Garrett Weimer investigates.
After she tested as pre-diabetic and given her high BMI, this Kentucky woman was excited when she says her doctor recommended Wegovy.
So I read about it and I said, well, hell, this is exactly what I want.
She was not excited when she learned the cost and that her insurance wouldn't cover it.
I kept telling myself it was for the pre-diabetes, but it's for the weight. It's not something I ever had to struggle with, so that made it rough to step on the scales.
The woman asked that we not identify her. She's embarrassed, but still wanted to share her story to warn others. Looking for a cheaper option, she began searching for online pharmacies, then stumbled across a Facebook group that listed the pins for sale. She messaged someone who offered her a 1-month supply for $300, roughly $1,000 less than the actual price.
I figured it was coming from a pharmacy, and the guy had supposedly a doctor was going to give a prescription for it, and then the rest of it, I was just going to hope I didn't die.
Meta, Facebook's parent company, says posts and groups like that violate its community standards, and they're working to crack down on them. But still, these offers are surprisingly easy to find. Some are in so-called support groups, while others don't even try to disguise their purpose. I found post after post here about their supply for sale. One post even provided suggested dosage information. I sent them to Facebook. They deleted the groups. It's a bad idea, doctors say, to buy these medications through the black market or even through back doors. The FDA warned of adverse events reported after some people used compounded versions of the drugs.
Number one, you don't know what you're getting. You don't, I don't want to sit here and tell you it's all bad because I don't know. That's the key. You don't know. You don't know what you're getting.
In this case, the Kentucky woman trying to buy on Facebook got nothing. The $300 cost was just the start, as the sellers kept coming back with reasons they needed more money. In less than 2 weeks' time, she says she lost
$1,071.10.
Just under what she would have paid at the pharmacy for the actual medicine. Would you say you were desperate for this?
Yes. Not desperate death, but just desperate because I wanted to get the weight off.
She believes the scammers are preying on people like her, self-conscious and eager for some help. Her warning:
don't do it. Don't do it.
Garrett Weimer, WYMT Mountain News.
If you are considering an online pharmacy, the FDA recommends checking its Be Safe RX tool. It lists what to watch for. You can also look up legitimate state-licensed online pharmacies. We have a link to that resource in this story at WYMT News app. The University of Kentucky is offering flu shots and COVID-19 boosters for students. Both vaccines will be available at several different clinic locations on campus this fall. Flu shots will be available this Wednesday from 1 to 3 in the Blue Box Theater. The newly approved COVID-19 booster is also available through UK retail pharmacies. Former Governor Brereton Jones lied in state at the Kentucky Capitol yesterday. We've told you in the last week about some of his most passionate causes, none more important than the equine industry. Kelsey Salto has more on one of the charities he cared so much about.
When horses want to retire and spend their days on greener pastures, they go to live with Michael Blowen in Georgetown.
There was nobody ever in the history of the horse racing business in Kentucky that has meant more to these horses than Governor Jones.
Michael fondly remembers the time he sat down with the former governor when he first got an idea for Old Friends Farm.
You're going to get these horses, right? I go, yeah. And he says, you're going to bring some of them home from Japan. I go, yeah. And he goes, and you're not going to breed them? No. You're not going to sell them? No. And you're not going to race them? I go, no. He says, what exactly are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to put them in my yard and hope people come visit.
Jones wrote a $5,000 check on the spot.
It was huge. It was the money, of course, because we needed the money badly. However, the idea that he did it, he wrote me the most wonderful note I've ever received.
Over the next 20 years, they formed a fast friendship.
All the problems that they're having in racing now with nobody cooperating with one another, they all would have been solved if he wasn't sick. Because he's the one person that could have brought everybody together, because everybody respected him, everybody adored him, and everybody knew he was really, really smart.
Michael and other dignitaries stood in line for hours at the Capitol on Monday to pay their respects. He says it was a remarkable moment of unity that could only be pulled off by Jones.
Huge loss. I think the loss of Governor Jones is the greatest loss in the history of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and their traditional horse racing.
In Georgetown, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
Instead of flowers, the family suggests donations to Old Friends, Bluegrass Care Navigators, or Racetrack Chaplaincy of America. Jones' funeral will be held this morning at 10 a.m. at the Forks of the Elkhorn Baptist Church in Midway. Elliott County is receiving more than $2 million. Governor Andy Beshear's senior advisor, Rocky Atkins, presented the check at a ribbon cutting at Elliott County Middle School Monday. Along with supporting the Middle Commons outdoor rec and event space, the money will go toward improving roads and cybersecurity. The money will also be used to improve the sewer infrastructure at the Little Sandy Hook Correctional Complex. We have more about this at WYMT.com.
Coming up on 642, we're looking down from above the fog this morning. Buffalo Mountain 52 up there at the airport, and you see as we look down through, just barely can see some lights out there from our tower. And again, it's a little bit of a blanket out there this morning, so just be careful, give yourself plenty of time. 50 Jonesville, 64 in Ashland, a lot of 50s out there. 52 Hazard, Wise, Clintwood, 53 in Irvin, 62 Monticello, and 63 in Logan. Outdoor forecast features a mix of sun and clouds, maybe more clouds this morning, some sunshine a little bit later on. It's going to take us into the low 80s, but changes, they are coming. We'll talk about those coming up in just a few minutes. Chas?
Thanks, Brendan. And thank you for joining us. The time is 6:42. Still to come on Mountain News this morning. A horse was running wild on the interstate, causing a traffic jam.